Well, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are also in the description as well. And finally, last, but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help and it does matter. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half. Shall we? Dulce in the military-industrial complex. Researcher William F. Hamilton was one of the first to write about Mount Shasta's subterranean colony of Telos, an underground city which is said to be the western branch of a subterranean kingdom that certain Asian fraternities refer to as the Aghardi Network. Mr. Hamilton had personally met with the reputed crown princess of Telos, Sharula, as well as some of her immediate relatives in the mid-'80s. During his investigations into underground base activity in North America, based on Bill has learned, Telos might not be as safe a place to live as one might first believe. Just like anywhere else on Earth, Telos itself suffers from its own conflicts between factions with different agendas, ranging from those who align themselves with the Andropalladian Federation and their non-interventionalist individualist beliefs, and those who have taken sides with the Draco-Orion Empire and their interventionalist collective philosophies. One might say that the scenarios taking place with Telos are somewhat of a counterpart of similar power struggles taking place within Sirius and within the U.S. government. The same could hold true within the entire Aghardi network, which has its center of activity under the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, and which allegedly contained two opposing factions during the Second World War period. The technologists who secretly sided with Allied forces and the occultists who sided with the Axis forces. Since the Talos-Aghardi alliance is tied in with the Ashtar collective, there are bound to be some internal conflicts within those cultures, just as there have been reported conflicts between the Orion interventionalists and Palladian non-interventionalists within the Ashtarian collective itself. All of this is based on reports from a contactee, Israel Norkin, and others that the Ashtar collective has been infiltrated by draconian Orionite agents posing as ascended masters, and that a large segment of the Ashtar command has been commandeered by these interventionalist collective forces and has split off from another large segment of the alliance, which has apparently sided with the Andropalladian Federation. What distinguishes the two is that the Andropalladian Federation believes in truth, individualism, non-interventionalist, whereas the Draco-Orion Empire adheres to a philosophy of deception, collectivism, and interventionalism. According to contactee Alex Collier, these two factions are now or have been at war within the Sirius B system, and this conflict has entered the Sol system with the Draconian Orion reptilians and their paraphysical overlords operating from Hale-Bopp Comet in collaboration with their rebel Syrian cultists who were or are operating from within the infiltrated segment of the Ashtar Collective occupying Hale Bop's so-called companion battleship, reputedly a former Syrian alliance battleship, which some have dubbed Hail Mary. This Saturn-shaped object has been photographed by both Chuck Schuremek and is also seen in a leaked Hubble Space Telescope image, along with other objects that apparently jumped ship as the comet circled around the sun. This scenario seems to be reminiscent of the movie Life Force, which depicted a race of draconian-like alien vampires that entered the system undetected on a trail of a comet. Alex Collier claims that the non-interventionalists from the Pleiades and Andromeda constellations from Tau Ceti, Procyon, and other systems have blockaded the Sol system near the orbital sphere of Neptune in order to keep the draconian Orionite forces out and keep them from interfering with our planet at this crucial and vulnerable point in planet Earth history. According to Collier's otherworldly friends, there have been devastating battles with casualties on both sides that have been waged between the Federation and the Empire in its current war in heaven, involving our solar system, and also in one that was waged shortly before this in the Sirius system, a war that has gravitated from Sirius to our own Sol system. So pray for our friends out there who are risking their lives for our sake. It is the very least that we can do. William Hamilton, incidentally, has voiced his concern that Sharula, being a member of the ruling class of Talos, seems to be involved in this current conflict taking place between the two Ashtarian factions, the Draco-Orion faction and the Andro-Pleiadian faction, although just how this has affected her on a personal basis is unclear. This may also hold true with the entire Melchizedek order, which has a major presence in Telos, in the Saturn moon-based cities in Sirius, in Arcturus, and elsewhere. Most of this misled Syrian cultists are being led to believe that the New World Order is being orchestrated for the purpose of establishing world peace and laying the groundwork to usher in a planetary ascension into a higher dimension in a harmonious and orderly fashion. They forgot, however, the history of the atrocities that have followed the ancient Bavarian Roman cults who were promoted the New World Order of their reptilian hosts in Draconius and Orion, the massacres in Lyra, Rigel, and Procyon being a few examples. In short, the Draconians and the Orions are psychologically and emotionally manipulating their cultic human followers in Sirius B, the Giza Empire, and Bavaria, who are tied in with the dark side of the Ashtar Collective to establish a global government which they intend to annex to their Luciferian interstellar Empire Collective. William Hamilton himself has gained a great deal of intelligence on the secret government's underground bases, many of which are, as of this writing, under the control of a collaboration or those military industrialists who have sold out to the humanoid reptilian collaborators from Dracos, Orion, and Sirius B, who are more or less given free rein within the secret government's underground network. In an article which appeared in Patrick O'Connell's Trends and Prediction and Analyst newsletter, Volume 6, Number 2, July 1990 issue, William Hamilton stated, "The cover-up was initiated soon after the Roswell, New Mexico crash. We wanted to know, 1, who they are, 2, why are they here, 3, how their technology worked. The cover-up became a matter of national security, a blanket word covering secrecy and deception. The cover-up involves secret organizations within our government, such as Majestic 12, PL40, MAGI, Delta, the Jason Scholars, and known intelligence organizations such as Naval Intelligence, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the Defense Investigative Service, the CIA, NSA, and more. It involves think tanks such as RAND, the Ford Federation, the Aspen Institute, the Brookings Institute. It involves corporations such as Bechtel, GE, ITT, Amoco, Northrop, Lockheed, and many others. It involves secret societies who may have the hidden bosses of orchestrated events, economic collapse, wars, assassinations, conspiracies to manipulate and control humans, and thereby to exercise enormous power over the destiny of the human race. The Illuminati, Masons, Knights of Malta, etc. The individual players are too numerous to list. The whole of this conspiracy forms an interlocking nexus. The goal is said to be a one-world government or dictatorship. The underground nation, the RAND symposium held in the deep underground construction, indicated that plans were hatched during the 50s to build underground bases, laboratories, and city complexes, linked by a stupendous network of tunnels to preserve and protect the ongoing secret interests of the secret societies. These secret societies made a pact with the alien entities in order to further motivate of domination. Actually, as it turns out, the secret societies, are now being dominated by the aliens. One can only assume that if certain humans would sell out their own kind to an alien race and use such an unholy alliance to gain domination over their fellow man, then they should consider the fact that they, according to universal law, must in that same way open themselves up to manipulation and control by their supposed benefactors. Thus, one can see the utter insanity of hoping to establish domination of others by petitioning the assistance of an imperialistic alien force. The human elite may think that their reptilian collective hosts will shower their egos with praise and rewards for their cooperation in selling out their own planet, but in reality, the Draconians consider the human elite as being useless. Weeds, as they do all humans in general, but necessary fodder in order to carry out their agenda. Mr. Hamilton continues, the underground complexes are not confined to the U.S. alone. A large underground complex operated by the U.S. exists at Pine Gap near Alice Springs in Australia. It appears that a secret society among us have become aware of the coming planetary eco-catastrophe and the possibility of an Earth polar shift in the near future. Surveying the Earth from space, satellites and shuttles reveal extensive damage to our ecosphere. Our planet is wobbling on its axis and its magnetic field is decaying. Ozone depletion and the greenhouse effect are rapidly endangering life on our planet. Alternatives include 1. Direct handling of the atmospheric problems, 2. Taking shelter in underground domains, 3. Escape to other planetary bodies in the solar system have been devised in secret. However, there is a possibility of a 4th alternative, which mostly depends on a completely different idea on how to save the Earth. Bill Hamilton then explains some of the mystery surrounding the so-called hybrids who have been encountered by UFO abductees and why an actual cross between humanoids and reptilians might never succeed, thank God. It is unlikely that the reptilian greys are crossbreeding with humans. Reptilians carry their sex organs internally and reproduce by eggs hatching by solar heat. Reptoids have a well-developed eyes, no hair follicles, and no external ear cartilage, as consistent with most reptilian species. Since their means of reproduction is incompliable with our own, it is suggested that humans may be fertilized by the greys by artificial insemination with human spermatozoa, or perhaps they use the human uterus as an incubation chamber. Other indications are that the reptilian injector codifies the human embryo with reptilian or other DNA during the early stages of development. It is even believed that some abductees that have been able to reprogram the genetic information within the egg before it has been fertilized. As for the so-called hybrids, Hamilton's statement seemed to be confirmed by others, including abductees, who have hinted that the hybrid fetuses are actually alien-looking or human-appearing hybrids who are conceived through human seed taken from the human male and female abductees. In other words, the fetus would fall to one species line or another, an alien appearing, being lacking of a soul, or a human-like child with a soul. It is said that within the hybrid society, the more human-looking hybrids consider themselves superior to the alien-appearing hybrids. Their more human-like features are a source of pride and status. Even though many of the hybrids are nevertheless servants of the Greys, some abductees are reported that they have observed experiments involving the attempted mixtures of human and cattle DNA to create a hybrid being. Many of the so-called hybrids, however, are nevertheless essentially human. For instance, the Hubrids, or humanoid hybrids, would possess crimson blood, 5 fingers, round pupils, eyes, and exterior reproductive organs, although the reproductive organs might be minimized and non-operative. If they possess even one of these traits, there is a chance that the hybrid might possess a human soul, although this may not always be the case. As with the chameleons and so on, in such a case, the aura detectors, which could detect whether or not the being has multicolored chakra system, would be a possible fail-safe means to determine the imposters from the real thing. The rebreds, or reptilian hybrids, would generally possess greenish blood similar to that which the Greys themselves possess, 4 fingers, opaque black and or vertical slit pupils, no visible ears, and no external reproductive organs. Hamilton continues, alien vehicles are being tested at Alien Physical Technology Center at the S4 at the Nevada test site. Alien vehicles are being replicated at the Kirtland Air Force Base and Sonda Laboratories, and these replicas are referred to as ARVs, Alien Reproduction Vehicles. At least 3 of these vehicles are stored in hangars at Norton Air Force Base in California. It is alleged the vehicle propulsion units are constructed by GE, or General Electric, and composite materials were provided by Amoco. Alien vehicles generate an artificial gravity field which can be focused and intensified for high-speed travel. Alien organisms and biological technology are tested at the underground biogenetic laboratories in Dulce, New Mexico. Alien genetic engineering, cloning, and cryogenetic technology have been studied with a view towards enhancing human genetics, deciphering the human genome, and gaining a biological advantage by artificial biological engineering. Strange life forms have been bred in these laboratories. And it just keeps getting deeper and more twisted. These elites are just terrifying, guys. I mean, the more I am learning and sharing with you guys, it blows my mind. I'm almost thinking like maybe the Dogman and Sasquatch are like security guards for these things, or maybe not. Just maybe they're just a evolutionary mishap. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to keep sharing everything that I have in my files with you guys until something happens. And with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed tonight's second half. May the Great Spirit be with you, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.